All right, today we're going to try something a little different. We're going to become detectives. In our case, it's that messy, confusing, and super polarized social landscape we see all around us, especially in Taiwan. We're going to use a unique set of tools to try and cut through all that noise and see if we can find some clarity. You ready? Let's jump in. You know that feeling, right? You get into a debate online or with family, and it just feels like you're going in circles. Or maybe you're scrolling through social media, and it seems like everyone is just shouting past each other. It's exhausting, and it really makes you wonder, why is it so hard to have a real, productive conversation about the stuff that actually matters? So let's stick with this mystery theme. The case we're trying to crack is the incredible amount of noise in our public debates. It's just a wall of sound, it's confusing, it's loud, and half the time it feels like we're just spinning our wheels. So, like any good detective, we have to ask, where do we start looking for clues? Well, the crime scene, if you want to call it that, is an absolute mess. We're getting bombarded with information from every direction. Opinions aren't just different, they're completely polarized. And almost every argument ends in a stalemate, with nobody budging. In an environment this chaotic, trying to think clearly to figure out what's really going on, it's next to impossible. And here's our first big clue. Maybe the answer isn't what we think. It's not about getting more information. I mean, come on, we're drowning in information already, right? The real key is having better tools to process it all. Tools that help us think with clarity, with logic, and with a critical eye. And that, my friends, is where this comes in. We are equipping ourselves with the Philosopher's Toolkit. Seriously, think of it like that. These tools are our magnifying glass for looking at the fine details, our fingerprint kit for seeing who's touched an argument, and our logic analyzer for breaking down the very ideas that shape our society. So inside this kit, we've basically got four main compartments. We've got tools to check if an argument even makes sense, tools to help us clarify what people actually mean when they use big, fuzzy words. Then there are tools for evaluating claims to see if they hold up. And finally, some really cool methods for digging deep and uncovering the hidden assumptions people don't even realize they have. Okay, we've unboxed the kit. Time to put it to use. All right, let's grab our new tools and get to work. First up, case file number 1. And we're diving right into the deep end here. This is one of the most complex, most emotionally charged issues in Taiwan, the whole debate around national identity and cross-strait relations. So, the first tool we're going to pull out is all about distinguishing between the objective and the subjective. Sounds academic, I know, but it's super simple. An objective threat is something you can measure, right? Like military strength. But the feeling that threat creates, that's the subjective part. It's the fear, the anxiety, that sense of us versus them that isn't so easy to put a number on. And this is where it gets really interesting because it shows us another tool called the self-defeating argument. So check this out. From a purely realist perspective, the goal of threatening force is simple: deter independence. But what's the actual result on the ground in Taiwan? That subjective experience of fear and alienation, well, it actually strengthens a separate identity. The action produces the exact opposite of what it was supposed to achieve. It literally defeats itself. How wild is that? Okay, case file number 2. Let's talk about the misinformation maze. And let's be real, fake news isn't just an annoying headline here and there. It's a massive, systemic problem that's chipping away at the very foundations of democracy. So, how can our toolkit help us find a way through this mess? First, let's just get a sense of the scale of the problem. Look at this number, 95%. That is staggering. 95% of people in Taiwan report that they've received misinformation. This isn't some fringe issue affecting a few people. It is everywhere. It's a pervasive part of our information ecosystem. So how does this stuff work so well? Well, one of the key tricks it uses is a logical error our brains make called the genetic fallacy. All this means is that we judge a piece of information not based on its own merit, but based entirely on where it came from, its genes, or its origin. And you've seen this a million times. We all do it. You see a headline and your brain immediately goes, oh, that's from that news source, or oh, my uncle who supports that party shared this. And boom, you dismiss it without even engaging with the actual content. It's a total bypass of our rational brain, and it makes us incredibly easy targets for manipulation. And here's the really scary part. Misinformation's true danger isn't just about spreading a few falsehoods. It's deeper, more strategical, is to systematically wear down our trust in democratic institutions, like the media. It wants to reframe the entire public debate until we question everything and ultimately trust nothing. For our final case file, we're going to tackle the social justice puzzle, specifically looking at educational inequality. Now, on the surface, the rules might seem totally fair, but let's see if our toolkit can help us uncover some of the hidden structures at play. So the path seems straightforward, doesn't it? To get into a top university, you need high test scores. That score gets you through the first screening, which then allows you to be considered for admission. It looks like a simple meritocracy. But hang on, let's pull out another clarification tool: necessary versus sufficient conditions. A high test score is a necessary condition. You must meet it to even be considered. But, and this is the key, it doesn't guarantee you'll get in. It's just the first gate. And when we dig into the data, we find something really important. Studies show that students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds have a lower pass rate at this very first screening. And that right there, that points to a structural problem. Even if the rule seems fair on paper, not everyone has an equal opportunity to meet that necessary condition. The system has a hidden barrier, right at the very start. Okay, so after examining our 3 case files, what's the overall diagnosis? What has our little philosophical investigation revealed about all that noise in our public discourse? The analysis points to a really deep issue, something called a post-foundationalism dilemma. It's a fancy term for a simple but huge problem. As a society, we're losing our shared foundation of basic beliefs and objective facts. And when you can't even agree on the starting point, whether it's about identity or the reliability of information, your debates just have nowhere to go. Now, it is so important to get this. This philosophical toolkit doesn't hand us simple solutions. That was never its purpose. Its real value is in helping us diagnose problems with much more precision. It gives us the clarity to stop asking the wrong questions and finally start focusing on the right ones. And that brings us to the end of our investigation. The toolkit is now yours. So the next time you find yourself in a heated discussion or you're scrolling through a confusing newsfeed, think about these tools. Will you check for a genetic fallacy? Will you clarify if the condition is necessary or just sufficient? The power to see more clearly is now in your hands.